Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. This is the latest episode of Share Your Blueprint. Today, we are joined by Coach Yana. Hi, Coach. How are you doing today?
I'm doing quite well. Excited to be here. Hope you're doing well also.
I am. I am. This is a fantastic opportunity. And I love meeting you at the Prince George's Community Council Chamber. Is that correct?
Yeah, it was their Coffee and Connections for the Chamber of Commerce. That's correct.
Awesome. What I loved about that sort of event is that we got a chance to not only meet, but there were so many other business owners in the community who were able to sort of give their voice, tell their story, and also connect. And so I'm glad we were able to make that connection and for you to join us today.
Yeah, and believe it or not, that was actually the first time that they ever had everyone pass the microphone. That's not a common thing. I
Oh,
think it was because the BNI folks were there, and I know that that's something that they do at BNI meetings. So I was like,
mhm.
"Oh, this is new." And then I went to a BNI meeting. I'm like, "Oh, they got this from there." So I do hope that they continue doing that, but that is not something that is typically common that I've seen. I've been to a number of those events, so.
Oh, okay. I had been to like one before that. And so I was like, oh, I fell off. Let me jump back in, see what's going on. It's like, this is it.
Yeah, it's always nice to get around different people, network, build relationships, and learn because you never know who's in alignment to with what you're doing. And then also,
Mhm.
who just is a cool person to talk to and do a podcast or go to lunch or, whatever various things. It's just nice to connect with people who are like minded and trying to make the entrepreneurial thing happen. It's pretty cool.
It is, and is, and that's sort of what drew me in as well. I'm curious to know more about your podcast. Can you tell me about that too, so we can jump in and let people know about who you are and what you do?
Yeah, so originally, it started out as an IG live series like during the COVID time, and I
Mhm.
I like to interview people because they're more likely to say yes than if you say, "Oh, can I go to lunch with you?" and like they don't know who you are. So originally, I thought I wanted to have a talk show years ago, and I wanted to get into the entertainment industry. So everybody was at home, so everybody was saying yes to the interview. So I would just spend hours on DM, like, "Can I interview you?" And I made some really, really cool connections through that. And so then I decided I didn't want to be in Hollywood because all the stuff that we started learning about over there. And so I was like, okay, maybe I want to be an artist because I paint, and my sister and I paint hats and sell them at festivals and things. Even now, we do that when we have too many to keep. So then I started doing that on Instagram. And then Instagram was like, you don't have enough followers on this new page to keep doing lives. And I was like, okay, well, I don't really want to do the artist thing anyway, because I started working with children at that point. And I had
Mhm.
started the Healed and Chilled podcast because I have healed a lot and I've also chilled down and like calmed down and things. So I wanted to give a space where, of course, I can ask questions because I feel like mentors can be anybody who can learn from anyone, and everybody likes to hear themselves talk as well, which is great. And I like to ask questions. So really, it's just a place for me to learn more about people, learn more about life and different ways of being. And so now, Healed and Chilled um, is just a space where I talk to entrepreneurs because I know that that's actually what I want to do and what I'm doing. And so I just listen to them, whether it's like them being an author or having a business or anything like that, just so that I can get questions that I want answered. And then also parents can get support because as much as I work with children, when the parents are okay, so are the children. So I want to be a support to the parents through working with their children, but also give them platforms that they can also listen to and get some insight. And so that's where the podcast came into play.
You mentioned a lot of heavy things in there, but like what really stuck to me is like how you decided to make that pivot. Was it like a financial thing, or was it just like I'm hoping that this next portion with working with children sort of speaks to me too?
So, just for clarity, when you say make that pivot, are you mean like when I started working with the kids or like when
Oh
I,
yeah.
okay, okay. Yeah. So I've always been a big sister, like with a large age gap. So granted, I have other siblings as well, but I didn't grow up with them. But the ones that I grew up with, there's a 10-year age difference between me and the
Mm,
next one. Yeah. So I was more like an auntie sister. But thankfully my mom and my dad or my stepdad, but he's for all intents and purposes a father. So they never put the second mommy role onto me, but I was still like helping and being a part of the upbringing of my siblings, but never in the capacity like a lot of older sisters unfortunately have that story. But with that being said, I took being a big sister very, very, very seriously. And so like I take them out on dates, even now when one like they're older, obviously, but I take them on one-on-one dates because I just want them to know that because I grew up as an only child and they grew up as a trio. So it's a little bit different of an
mm,
experience when everything's about you and then everything kind of has to be shared too. So I wanted to still give them a space where like when we're together, everything's just about them. Like whatever you want to do. Granted, I'd make it a surprise for them. Um, and so outside of that, also, my parents had me young. So there was some emotional development that we did together as opposed to them doing and then bringing me into the world. And so I kind of stepped in for my siblings to be that emotional sounding board of like, okay, well, this is why you're angry. This is how you process that. This is how you decide to respond instead of reacting to what's going on. Because I want them to be better and bigger than I am and that any of us are type thing. And so I realized that not every child has access to that, situation. So I was like, how can I do more of this? And so I used to work in corporate and sales and I hated it. And so then my mom was like, why don't you just like stop, like take a little bit of a breather and things like that. So I did. And then I started working for this nonprofit and they say disenfranchised children, but I hate to use that term, but basically helping high schoolers go to college for free. And I really, really liked being with them. And teenagers are basically just kids that are bigger, like let's just be real. When they feel safe, seen, and heard, they want to come and show you their play. They want to show you their drawings, just like the little children I work with now. And so, but the only thing I didn't like is I had to teach them what that program wanted to teach them, which was still beneficial, like time management, yada, yada. But I wanted to teach them what I wanted to teach. And so they did give me the opportunity. I had like a number of things that I did with them. Like I did a arts entrepreneurship workshop during the summertime. And so they did give me that freedom. And it got to the point where my events had to have caps on it because they weren't used to, because these are
oh,
teachers after school. And then I'm offering extra stuff outside of the extra programming. And so we had to start putting caps because everybody wanted to come to my events I was hosting to the point they were getting mad at me. Like, why didn't you tell me you were doing this? And I'm like, I did tell you, you got to read your emails. And so I had to literally like stop the signups. And so I was like, I love doing this. And then I went kind of back into more of a corporate environment. But then I was like, I started feeling sad and kind of like more depressed and just like I was on this hamster wheel. And I realized that for my personality type, unless I am doing what I want to do, then I'm like borderline depressed and just going and just feeling drained. And so then I started working at this other place that was like really, really draining. It was like a relatively okay work environment, but just it was draining. So I was like, let me try this. Let me try this and see if I can like work with kids again. And so my mom has a hair care line and I was helping her and I still do. And she like teaches different people how to take care of natural curly hair, like foster kids, foster parents, Girl Scouts, all the different things, because all hair is good hair, especially when it's healthy. And so I was like, okay, I can do that on this platform, which is Outschool. That's where I have my clubs. But there wasn't really as many Black or colorful people on there as you would think starting
mm,
out, especially a few years ago. And so like I started running out of people. And so I'm like, okay, I got to figure out something else to do. And so I tried Zumba, I tried this, I tried that. And I'm someone who they say quick to hire, quick to fire. So if I'm like smelling around to see like what feels right until I get to what I say makes my heart sing. So I kept teeter tottering. Okay, I got to figure something out. Like, what do I actually want to do that makes sense? And I also have a obsessive personality. So I like one thing and then I only want to do that. So I bond with my siblings and my younger cousins through playing Roblox. But I always want to play Dress to Impress. And they are like, okay, y'all, like, we played Dress to Impress like 10 times today. Can we play another game? I'm like, no, can we play another round, please? Just one more round, and then I'll play the game you want to play. But let's just play this because I already know I like this game. This is the game I want to play, please. And so eventually they started saying, no, I don't want to play Dress to Impress with you again because we played that every other time. So my mom was like, why don't you try a Dress to Impress club on our school? And I was like, I don't know. Like, why would anyone want to do that? There's already so many Roblox clubs on there. Ah. And so I did it. And then it turned out to be the best thing that I could have done. And it also helps that I am the only Black woman coach that's doing Roblox games and stuff on there. And I started 2 years ago. So that actually ended up helping me. And I have kids from like different cultures, different ethnicities. So it's not really a color thing, but it does help
Mhm.
because I'm the only, if you're looking for Afro, you're only gonna find it over here. You know what I'm saying? So, all that to say, it wasn't like a straightforward path. It was like, okay, I tried this, I tried that, I tried so many different businesses, like so many different things, and then what made my heart sing was being a big sister to these little people. And so now I'm more on the coach side. So that's why they call me Coach Yana, because I didn't want to be like a teacher to them. I didn't, even though that sometimes they call me Miss Teacher or say the teacher said or something like that. But we don't have a teacher relationship because I don't tell them what to do. I don't like do this and do that. I'm more of like a guide and I just let them be themselves, whether they're having an off day or a good day. They know like Coach Yana's not going to kick you out of class. I'm not going to like shame you or whatever. If you're loud, be louder. Like, I don't really care. Like, do you? And I just create like safe spaces for all children. So again, it wasn't like there wasn't a moment that I could say, oh, this particular thing led me to that. It was like years and years and years of me just knowing, like, I know what it's going to feel like when I get there, but I don't know where I'm going. And so a lot of people thought I was like scatterbrained because I would try a lot of things. Like my initial IG live series was very successful. So people were like, why did you stop that? It's like, cause it didn't feel right. Like, that's it. That's
Mm.
the answer. Why didn't you keep doing this? Because it didn't feel right. And so I just kept going until like Florence Scovel Shinn says, she's one of my favorite authors. She says that there's a place in this world that only you can fill. So I was just waiting until I found the place that only I can fill. And so now, after years and years and years of trying so many different things, from drop shipping, I sold NFTs, like I literally did everything. And now I'm like, okay, this is where I feel comfortable. This is where I can grow from. And so, yeah, that's how I ended up here.
First, that's a fantastic journey. And I feel that a lot of people resonate with that, especially during the pandemic. And even now with like the economic downturn, is that there are so many ways in which we want to feel seen and safe and heard, like in a safe space, kind of like with your students or your kids that you work with, but you also have to make money.
Mhm.
And that's such a hard way to weave in those things with your desires and you wanted a trip and retirement and all those sort of things. So I really applaud that you like were able to make that happen. You mentioned that your family was a support system in that journey. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so my one thing for certain about my mom specifically, and then I'll get into the other family members, like she'll even say like, "Yeah, I don't know what you're doing. I don't understand it, but you're doing something right because every time you try something it works." And so I don't know how, I don't know why, but like, and I say every time, but it's like it's not easy, like I'm a very disciplined person and I'm someone who I'm always stretching myself beyond my comfort zone in little things. So that way, when big things happen, I'm already prepared. I say it kind of like the Humpty Dumpty, like, he said no while he had a great fall and no one could put him back together. But like, imagine if Humpty Dumpty was in that egg preparing, and was doing his reading, was doing his due diligence. When he fell, he would be the bird. And that's, you can't, as a bird, you can't live in an eggshell for the rest of your life. You gotta get out of the egg. And when you get out, you're gonna be ugly looking. You're gonna have weird stuff on you. You're gonna be covered. Like there's this little bird's nest, and I see them every year because there's a specific tree. And when they come out, they look horrible. They're scary looking, like triphobia. It's like the whole thing is just nasty. But once they get their wings, they're just beautiful creatures. So I study and I know that, when hard things come, it's like when you get to put the pedal to the metal and you prove to yourself and to the world and to the universe, like, this is what I've been preparing for. And so when you have those great falls, because it's going to happen, every single person who's ever done anything worth discussing has had a great fall multiple times. But when you do your studying and your due diligence, you know that that's just a part of the process. And like, when like your goal is to own a large conglomerate, whatever it is, like this issue you have right now doesn't really matter. Nobody cares. The only people, like Dr. Seuss says, those who care don't matter and those who matter don't care. So like the small things that come up, even though sometimes they feel like big things, when you think like eventually I want to have employees, I can't let this little thing get on me. This small thing can't rattle me, because if I want to be like I don't know who. Pick someone like John D. Rockefeller. Maybe not him, but I'm just saying he's the one that came to mind. If you want to be like him, you can't let today's issue rattle you, because what happens if you have 1 million employees at some point? You never know where your dream can take you. You got to be on that level, and that person that's responsible for 100,000 people's salaries is not going to let this small problem take them off their square. So that's the first thing. And then also, I'm not afraid to talk to people and network and get out there, because I also know and believe that when you do the work, you're one connection away from somebody being able to put you in a connection that can change everything. When you have put in the groundwork, because I was working like full time in a stressful place, waking up early to go to the gym, working all day, and then working again for hours. But it's also, I have a family who supports me. One of my sisters is my assistant and everything. So whether I'm doing my hats, she comes with me to vend. When we're helping our mom on her business, she helps with that. When I have like a show animated series, she colored the background. She painted, actually, hand painted Amazon boxes so that I could have a background for my show. I have dolls that we create for the books. She paints the face on those. I sewed the clothes on. I don't know how to sew. I bought some felt fabric and I was like, I can figure it out. I can put it together. The first edition and the first characters for the animated series are cardboard box cutouts that I put designs on. I used Canva to animate. So you gotta, like, when you put in the work on the ground level, you start to see things differently. So it doesn't mean that you're going to have this, like my series, the way that I see it in my mind is not how it currently looks, but it's enough so that it's out there and people know, okay, she has a series, you know what I'm saying? And so the cardboard box that could have just gone in the trash is now the background for that. Is now the background for when I have videos and things. So it's about like using all the things that you have as much as you can. And then you'll see, wait a minute, that's not a box, that's a background. Wait a minute, that's not just a piece of trash, that's something else. And so you can have that imagination. And it's like, I forgot who said it, but it's something where they say like, you have to see it and then it arrives. Like when you perfect your craft and when you're in that act of service, then you start to see things differently. And then I want to touch on what you said about like earning. I study, like, I'm not super religious, but I study different religions. And a lot of Jewish people have money. So I studied the Jewish religion to learn about what they think about money. And they view business as an act of service. So most people think, oh, I have to give back. I have to give back. But they don't even view it as taking. Because if you're giving back, that means you're taking from someone. But they view business as, this is my act of service. And I'm charging you because I respect you enough not to give it to you for free. And I want you to value it. So even changing your mindset and changing the way that I viewed what I was doing is like, wait a minute, I'm already doing a service. I don't have to give back. Granted, I do service, I do community work, but I don't view it now as giving back. I'm just doing what I feel called to do. And my business in and of itself is an act of service. So I don't have to give back because I'm not taking from anyone. I'm not out here like, give me a review. Parents just give reviews because they know that their children have a good time and they want their children to have friends and they want more people to join. So I don't have to take because I'm not taking, I'm giving and I'm receiving what is due to me because of what I'm giving out there. So there's just all that to say. There's a lot that as a society we've been taught and programmed like this is bad or this is bad and this is that, but it's not really that way. And so I like to say, so I do have family support of like them like, okay, do what you need to do, spread your wings and fly. This is your safe space. You can land here. And then also I have my inner desire that's like I know what I want and I learn about who came before me because their journey is not going to be the same as mine, but they're going to have pitfalls. And so if I know that like the owner of Kava, Brett, I forgot what his last name is, if I know that this little bit story about what he went through, like I learned at a conference, my issue today is nothing. I can figure this out. Like I cannot let these little things rattle me because if I'm trying to prove to myself and to the universe that I can handle the world and the business that I want to create, today's small things can't get me. And then I would just say also, if you find a need that you feel that you can provide a good service for, they say it's like if you can find a shark bite problem versus a mosquito, people will pay you for it. There's people on the platform that I host courses on that teach outdoor survival. You know, what shows children what plants you can eat in your backyard, and people are paying for that. There are people who teach them how to draw stuff that you can look on YouTube and draw it, you know, but people are
Mm.
still doing it. So if you can find, and then if you could add like a shark bite problem, there's people everywhere who are willing to pay for whatever service you're providing. You just, number one, have to believe that it's worth being bought and then view it as I'm providing you a service. Like you should be lucky to have my service. It's not like I don't have to prove that it's valuable to you because it literally is, you know? And so when you can get into that, and then, like I said, I did some research into how the Jewish people do things. Like there's this guy, his name is Rabbi Daniel Lampin. He has a book called Thou Shall Prosper. And then he has a course called The 10 Fundamentals of like Prosperity or Wealth, something like that. I highly recommend if you need if anybody, you, me, whoever, because I read that book all the time. If you need a factory reset on how to view wealth, and so you don't feel guilty about charging your value, that's a great place to start. So I know I went all over the place, but I felt like I needed to say that.
No, this is perfect because like the context of like how you're thinking and what sort of propelled you forward and the safe spaces are key because I find that when I talk to different people over the years that it always starts with I want this, I believe in myself, but how can I juggle these things? How can I make or repurpose things like the cardboard cutouts, like you mentioned, to serve this purpose? I don't have enough like startup things. How can I like use tools and like things I have available to make it happen? So it's all awesome stuff. I think when like you mentioned about like your family, especially like your sister and your mom, and how they've been a part of this process, it's like a family. Everyone understands that mission. Is that how it like sort of exists? Like everyone gets to serve each other, to help each other reach that next step?
I would say so for the most part. I think sometimes though, especially with me, because I'm more of like a pioneer type thing, and I kind of march to the beat of my own drum. Like I don't like people telling me what to do. I like not even a little bit. So I think that it's like them supporting, but they might not know what's happening. You know what I'm saying? Like they're like, okay, yeah, do it. But like, what the heck is she doing now? Like, why are you doing this? You know, why don't you do it this way? Why are you trying this? And so but like they trust me enough to like, especially my sister, like she is the best work person. And she's very clear. She's like, I don't want to be in charge. Because I ask her every time, like after it's been a while, because she's growing, I'll be like, okay, do you want to be a partner or do you want to be an employee? Do you want to make decisions or do you want me to tell you what to do? And she's like, you can just tell me. I'm like, okay, cool. And so, okay, so do this and do that. And like the thing I really like about her is like, I don't have to sugarcoat what I say to her. A lot of people, because I'm so blunt and like, I'm like effectiveness and efficiency when it comes to business. Like, let's get it done. I don't want to hear all this other stuff. Just do what I tell you to do right now. And so with her, I don't have to sugarcoat anything. She knows where my heart is, and she knows like if I say something like rude, like quick, it's not because I'm trying to be mean. It's because we're on a time crunch. We got stuff to do. So she will just be like, okay, I got it done. Boom. What do you need next? Okay, do this. Okay, boom. She does it. Okay, I didn't like how you did this. I like this, but can you change this? Okay, cool. Let me change this. And if she can't do it, she'll just say, okay. She give me this look. And I'm like, can you do this? And she's like, and I said, okay, well, don't worry about it. I'll get it. I'll figure it out. But you do this thing instead. And so it's a really good synergy. But I also think it's because I'm her big sister. She's used to me telling her what to do already. So she's used to that, like, okay, my big sister told me this. And again, like she knows I'm not like a hater, because there are sisters who are haters. I'm not someone who's going to try to bring her down. All my siblings know, like, I want the best for them. I want them to be better than me. So one of my youngest sibling, he's a boy. I'm like, I gave him some money the other day and he immediately had food. And I was like, did you use the money I gave you for food? He was like, yeah. He's like, but I did invest some. I'm like, okay. Because he already knew that that was going to come next. Like, I didn't give you that money so you could spend it today. I gave you that money so you could have money, because you got to get used to having money. That's the first thing. And then so you can start investing. Because if you start while you're still in school, whether you put $5 in or not, or $2 or whatever, but you start forming that habit, you'll be good when you get older. So now he'll come up to me like, I made such and such on this. I say, okay, well, what was that? A dividend or what was that? He's like, I don't know what that is. I said, well, go look it up. And then you come tell me what it was, because I actually want them to be better. And so, it's just cool that they're receptive to it. They understand my personality, and they go with it. My mom, because she's a Gen X, she's a little bit more um, apprehensive to trying new things. But I never get wrong. I never get tired of telling her I told you so. And she never upset to say, yeah, fine, you were right. And I did say, if you would just start listening to me a little bit earlier, we wouldn't have so many things going on. But she's like, but I'm getting it, figuring it out. And so I just appreciate that we can learn from each other. I learn from my mom all the time. I learned from my middle sister too. She's not really too business oriented at this time, but I get ideas from her. From my stepdad, I learn, like just man stuff, I guess. That's a whole other conversation. But it's just a good experience to be able to have people that are genuinely happy for you as well. Because like they say, you can't feed jewels to swine. So there's more people that I cannot share happy news with than I can share happy news with. So I recognize that I'm privileged and incredibly blessed and grateful that the people that I can share my happy news with are people that I actually love and appreciate what they have to say. And so we have a group chat, and it's always, if someone has good news, we know that there's going to be people who appreciate it, but it's not everybody. So I think out of all the things, outside from my sister, who's my number one assistant, and no matter what business idea, if I say, can you help me? She's already ready. Like, okay, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? What you need me to paint? And she can paint. So that also helps with the vending and stuff. But, again, the big, big, big thing that I really appreciate from them is that they give me a space where I can share happy news. And I like that so much that every club or class that I teach, because classes and clubs are different, I always ask the students, did anything exciting happen to you this week? Or is there anything happy that you want to celebrate or something like that? Because I don't know what their households are like. And all of the kids, for you to sign up your kid for something like this, you kind of have to be involved. So I haven't had any like crazy situations, but they're always excited to be able to share what they want to share. And then the classes where I'm teaching them like public speaking and stuff, we do a signature round of applause. And I do that for my guests on my interviews. And it's literally just a circle, like a literal round of applause. But they love it to the point where like sometimes they like to have avatars on Zoom. But after, if I say great job and I forget to do the round of applause, they'll show their face. I'm like, oh, you want to do the round of applause together? Like, yeah, let's do it. So everybody wants to be applauded. everybody wants to be celebrated. And so because I have a safe space where I can be celebrated, I can create a safe space where all my students can share. Sometimes they share not so good news, and I let them share that too, but they know that at least, and I'm not saying that their parents don't, because again, I don't know what their households are like, but they know for a fact that at least once a week, there's a place that they know they can share their good news and someone will be really, really happy to hear it. So yeah.
That's important though, because whether you're old or young, knowing that you have safe spaces to be yourself and to share and know that it can be contained there, nothing like it really. So it's funny how like you have this energy that you've been able to cultivate and have with your family and then share it with others in such a way that they know that this could be something they can rely on. I guess you mentioned about like working with like the children. What age range do you normally work with?
Excuse me. So typically between 7 and 11.
Okay.
Sometimes I do have a few students that are 6 or a little bit like 6 is the cutoff though, because once you get into that 5 age range, then you got to start like reeling them in too much. And we ain't got, this is not the daycare, this is a club. So, but I have had some 5-year-olds every once in a while, but typically 7 and lowest is 6. And then 11, I have had a 13-year-old and a 16-year-old, but they were mentally delayed.
Mm.
So typically, again, 7 to 11, because they're young enough to still be moldable and molded and shaped and influenced, honestly, but they're old enough so where they can actually have real conversations and develop into themselves. So that's been my sweet spot. And again, like I said, I've had some older students who are I hate to use those terms, but that have different challenges when it comes to thought processes and stuff. But even them, like after a while, they get right into the groove. I have one student started with me when I was trying Zumba. Like we've been going for a minute, then stayed for the Roblox and went from not even engaging in Zoom in the chat like feature talking to now comes in like, Coach Yana, why, honey, that is not even a good outfit that you wear. Blah, 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 blah. Like, he will fry me up and down, but it's hilarious. And so I encourage it. And like, even I hear how this particular student, without, giving too much away, because, I'm very particular and protective over them too. So I don't want to ever infringe on their privacy. But this particular student, you can hear that there's something different, is what I'll say. And you can tell that the way that this particular student is able to make sentences faster, if that makes sense, like as opposed to taking like 2 minutes to get out 2 sentences. Now it's like 30 seconds and he done read you from top to bottom and like find your whole outfit in 30 seconds versus before it would take 2 minutes to get out a sentence or two. So just also creating that space to where the other students would allow this particular student to take 2 minutes to get that sentence out, because we just know like everybody here is safe, everybody here is seen, everybody here is heard. So on occasion, there are some who are chatterboxes, so they might interrupt, but it's just known, okay, let this person get their thought out and then talk. And I don't even have to jump in and say, hey, sometimes though, when everybody is at the same level, they be I will have to say, okay, such and such is on stage. Now everybody be quiet. And so we've gotten to the point also where they know that we're so safe and it's so big sister or coach vibe that like they might just stand on stage. I'm like, get off the stage so such and such can come down. Like it's very much that just family vibe. So I don't put on for them. I don't like try to, please get off the stage or please remove yourself. I'm like, get off the stage. Such and such is in line, get off. And so sometimes they'll come stand right in front of me so I can't see, or they'll stay on the stage because they want me to like, get off of there. Da, 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 da. But at the same time, they do that to students that they're used to. But when a new student comes and I say, hey, get off the stage because such and such needs to perform or show, then they'll all leave because they know, okay, this person's new. They don't really understand the dynamic yet. So they'll move out the way. If it's one they're used to, then I might have to get up there and like, get off the stage, like move. But they're very, very fun and They just are who they are. And I'll just tell this other story. I had one student who told me, because in my class, she's the one who opens up the servers for us. She's the one who always knows there's like secret items. She always knows, she always tells everybody. She's my IT girly. And if I can't figure something out, she fixes it. And so a few weeks ago, she mentioned how she's always in other classes, she's always put in breakout rooms because she's too disruptive. And I was like, what? You? I didn't make it a big deal then because I was like, whatever, just keep moving. But I was like, wow, it really depends on how you show up, what you bring out of them. Because I've never even thought, oh my gosh, I need to separate her. Because she's always, I'm already in the server, I already set it up. And I'm like, okay, girl, we're coming. Let us know when we're able to join. She'd be like, don't join yet, I didn't finish. Da, 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 da. And so she takes her roles very seriously. So when she mentioned that in every other class, she gets put in breakout rooms, I just wonder, like, what the heck is happening there? And then I just think, okay, like those incidences with the one boy and then with her, it made me really like, okay, I gotta do this. This isn't like granted, it's something I enjoy doing, but like, no, I actually have to because these children need me. And because, like Florence Scovel Shinn says, there's a place that only you can fill. And so if I'm the only club that she's helpful in versus quote unquote disruptive, it would be like selfish of me not to. And so that kind of ties into like this last point I want to make is like when you find whatever it is that your soul is here to do, the responsibility to do that becomes bigger than your dream. Like there's been so many times where I'd be tired and I'd be like, man, I already had a long day. Now I got to be here for y'all. But I show up anyway because what I'm doing is more important than how I feel. I don't care about my own feelings. I don't care if I feel like going to events, networking. That doesn't matter. What matters is that these children need me. And who am I to not be the person that they need? Who am I to say no to what I was put here for? I'm nobody to do that. So my responsibility and my mission is more important than any temporary feeling, whether it's good or bad. Okay, you had a win. Okay, and now go to the next thing because you got to do this. Okay, you had a loss. Who cares? Do something else. So for me, it took trying all these different things, learning all these lessons until I found what I'm here to do. And so nothing is more important to me, even me. I'm not more important than what I'm here to do. And so that also really, really is the main thing that keeps me going. So yeah.
No, that's really key. And I thank you so much for sharing that because aligning your dreams and your preparation, like you mentioned, like the Humpty Dumpty and the egg, and also family, community, like all these things pour in to then make your business what it is and make you who you are. And that also has the impact to all the people that you serve. So it's like serendipity in a way, that like we can't really predict how this moment here will lead to this, to lead to that, to change. To then when you're working with your students and your children later, oh, I'm drawing on this thing that happened 4 years ago. I'm drawing on this thing with Roblox that I didn't think about was a thing before, but here we are.
Yeah. And then just to add to what you're saying, it's kind of, I like to think of it as like when you drop a pebble in the water and it kind of ripples. Like
Mhm.
I personally will never, ever, ever know the impact that I really have because I only see these kids like weekly, sometimes more than once a week if their parents put them in multiple clubs or something. But like I will never fully know because when you touch one child, they impact another. And then whatever it is that we're doing, even with the podcast like you're doing, you never know how much you impact people. Like sometimes when you ask people stuff, they're like, wow, you want to hear from me? Like, you want to hear what I have to say? Like, you will never, 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 never know the full gravity of your impact. But if you just even live with that and say, wow, even when you're at a cash register, you never know how much you say thank you to the cash register person and not giving them an attitude when they give you one back and saying, I hope you have a nice day. You never know how much a small impact you can have on someone's life. So if we all are more intentional with leaving people better than we found them, we could really change the world. So I just want to add that.
No, 100%. Well, we're seeing that now with TSA lines. We're seeing that, at the gas tank. We're seeing it
Mhm.
everywhere we are and everywhere we could be too. But I'm also curious about how's your days go? Like, do you start at 8 a.m.? Because see, when you work at your corporate job, that you worked early in the mornings or you worked out and then like it's like a long day. Is it still like that? Can you take me through your day?
So now it's not, thankfully, because I do have a supportive family. So now I'm able to like dive more into my business. However, I do still like working things. Like I'm so committed to what I'm doing that no week is the same. Like this month has been so crazy busy because I've been just going to conferences and meeting people and from one event I did like a virtual community, this lady who's speaking, well, it already passed. She was speaking at a brunch. She invited me to that event. And so I went to there. And then from that event, then this other lady invited me to another event. And then that lady asked me if I can apply to speak at her event. So it's like all these things. And so I always, take advantage of anyone, if they say, who has a question? I'm like, I have a question. And then something that I do that I think people could do more on LinkedIn, for example, because this also has helped me grow and meet new people, is I will take a picture of every single speaker that's speaking, whether I understood what they were saying or not. And so then I also, when they ask who has a question, I always ask a question because I like to be an engaged audience participant. But as soon as I get back home, and I'll take a selfie. So that's important too. I'll take a selfie. I'll take a picture of every single person presenting and I'll get all of their names. And so as soon as I get home, if it's a weekend, I'll do it that Monday. If it's a weekday, I do it that night. I will go and I will add every single speaker as a friend. And then I'll post my selfie first because I asked a question. So they remember what I look like. They remember my outfit. That's why it has to be quick. And then I will tag every single person. If I have to do 2 or 3 posts, I will do it. Then I'll use Chat GPT to come up with a caption. And then I'll tag all of them in there. And then apparently I learned that 21 days after you engage with someone, they will still see your stuff popping up. So then after I tag them, they're more likely to add me back on LinkedIn because I tagged them in a picture. I took a picture of them and they saw who it was and they remember, oh, she asked a question. Okay, let me follow down her path. And so then when I post other things on LinkedIn, they see what I'm doing. So that's been a really, really effective way for me to keep in contact with people. And for those people that I want to follow my journey, they follow that way. And so I honestly forgot what the question was because I forgot that.
Oh
But
no, I'm just asking like how your days go, but that's part of
oh,
it.
okay,
Like you
yeah.
just broke
So
that down.
okay, perfect. So that's part of my day. So every interaction, everywhere I go, if I'm at an event, I really make a point to take a picture and ask a question and be a part of it rather than just a participant because most people there are afraid of something. I've discovered that like older people, and I like to say seasoned, but more seasoned people have had different life experiences that make them a little bit more scared to raise their hand, a little bit more scared to say something. But for my benefit, I'm not that type of person. So I take advantage of every moment. And even if I don't have a question, I always have one question that I know everybody can answer. And that is, what's one thing that you know now that if you would have known years ago would have saved you time, money, and stress? Everybody has an answer to that. So if I don't have a question, I have that one that I have in my back pocket. And they'll remember that because we have to remember the same things that the people in the audience went through are the same things that the speakers went through. So they're nervous when nobody has a question. It makes them feel like, did I not do something? Am I in the wrong? So when you're that person that kind of comes in and saves the day, like, I have a question, then they'll remember you. And then when you tag them, they'll remember that. So every single thing has a footprint. And what I also learned now that I'm more into the business space is that networking and events are a must. When I first was like, oh, I'm going to take this more seriously, I thought that events like the conferences, I thought that was a thing you got to do. And it is a thing you get to do, but it's a thing you got to do. Like people, because I used to work in sales, like you could send an email and a call. Like now with all this internet stuff, they're going to think you're a scammer. But if you get in front of the right person and they know somebody, they'll say, oh, wait a minute, I remember that person because, oh, that person asked a question. That person followed me on LinkedIn. That person came to another event of mine that I had. Okay, how about, look, actually, my sister has a school and I can introduce you to this person. Some of them follow up and some of them fall through, but that's why it's a numbers game. So I've also learned through this that sales is different now. It's not just pick up the phone, send an email. Sales is okay. Let me get you on a podcast. That's why I have the podcast too. So I can always put that in my back pocket. Like, can I interview you? And so that also helps me learn who they are. And okay, you were at my event, you asked a question, you tagged me. And if you do things that other people are afraid to do, people will take you more seriously and think, okay, well, this person has cojones. They have the courage. And you know, the worst thing they could say is no. And so what? Whatever. Because again, the mission is more important than that. No, the mission is more important than somebody judging your question. And most times people do have questions, but because of whatever happened in people's lives, they're too afraid to say it or they're too afraid to follow up. So if you tell me, email me, okay, you're going to get an email from me. Like, don't just offer it and then think I'm not going to show up. And if you don't reply, that's on you. But I already did what I was supposed to do. And so again, my days have shifted because now I'm at events. Now I'm at networking. Now I'm going to award shows for things. I don't even know what it is. I went to an award show a few weeks ago from a lady I saw on LinkedIn. I didn't know what the heck this thing was. But from there, I got to connect with a banker because we just happen to be in the same place. So like you said, serendipity and alignment. And if you go from a space of alignment, you go from a space of what you believe in, people will feel that off of you. And people that are doing good things in life want other people to do good things too. So if they see that you're authentic and you really care about what you're doing, and me helping the youth also helps because most people want to help children. But regardless of whatever it is, if people that are on some real stuff, if they sense from you that you're authentic and you believe in what you're doing, they want to help you win. It's only haters and Twitter fingers that want to, oh, you think you good? Yeah, because you know why? Because I have a bunch of children that I already work with. So I know there's other children who need me. I already know that. So I don't care about what you have to say because what you say doesn't matter. I don't care about my own scary voice. It's like, are you sure you're going to ask a question again? Because I used to have shine too bright syndrome, I guess is what you can call it, because I always have questions. When I was in college, I had the highest GPA on my cheerleading squad, and I didn't go after a scholarship from my cheer squad because my cheer sisters were getting mad at me because I always got the stuff. And so I allowed myself to miss out on things because of other people not showing up. But if you don't show up, that has nothing to do with me. I don't care. Because now, that was when I was just living life for me. But now there's another child who's on the spectrum that if they find out about me, their life will be further impacted. So again, I don't care if I'm nervous. I don't care if I'm scared to ask a question or if I've asked this last event I was at. I was the only one I asked questions to every speaker. I was the only person who asked a question, every single person. But you know what? I don't care. I don't care if the person in the back is like, oh, she has a question again. Yes, because no one else has a question. And this person is speaking. They just spent their time with us. And now you don't even have anything to ask. How dare you? Like, I don't care about that. And I know that the kids that I'm teaching, they also can sense inauthenticity. I can't be telling them, go after what you want. I can't be telling them read if I'm not doing it. I gotta be the person. And that's why I be telling parents too, when they ask like, oh, well, how can I help my children grow? You can help them by being the standard you set for them. You cannot set a standard for a child that you're not meeting because then you're a hypocrite, like flat out. So I have to be meeting and exceeding. I have to be higher than the standard that I set for the children. So that way they don't sense that I'm being inauthentic to them because children can see that in you and that I don't feel like I'm being a liar to them. And so again, every day is different, but the baseline of every day is that I hold myself to the fire and like Kanye West says, who the kid's going to listen to? I guess me if it isn't you. And we see what type of stuff, unfortunately, Kanye's on right now and what the world is putting on these kids. So if I decide not to pour into them, okay, I'm worse because I know what's being poured into them. I know the toxic garbage that society is trying to put into them.
Mm.
And if I don't put stuff into them too, and I know that what they're getting is wrong, I'm a hypocrite. So I have to show up. So I have to shine bright, because if I don't, there's going to be a kid who could have used me, who could need me, that will never get to see me because I'm insecure about something, or because I feel a type of way. Who cares about my insecurity? My insecurity doesn't matter. These kids need me. These kids need all of us. So I think if more people can get out of their own way and realize that, like, the only way a miracle is going to happen in a child's life is if Coach Yana shows up. If the only way a miracle is going to happen in someone else's life is if you tell your story. And if you're so sad and down on yourself to the point where you're not going to move, well, then don't get upset when something bad happens, because you're not doing anything to help. So I'm very, very stern and strict with myself, because every day is a war. Like, this is a business is warfare. And it's really a war of the internal mind. It's a war of, are you going to let the person who beat you down as a child beat you up now? Because now they're going to win. You know, every day is a war, whether it's beating your reactions, it's beating the laziness in you, it's beating the insecurity, because I like to think, like, I've overcome every bad day so far with another one. And again, I'll close with this part for that is, again, when the mission is more important than the temporary reality, then you can do anything. Because now that I know what impact I have on these children, I cannot let anything get in my way, whether that's me or there's a problem. If you don't want to work with me, I don't care. There's someone else that will, because if you knew what I was doing, you wouldn't want your child to be with me, flat out. I don't have to prove that. I don't have to do tricks for nobody, because I know what I'm here to do. The universe has ordained whatever people believe in. I know what I'm here to do, and I'm doing it. And I'm not going to allow anyone. And then, because I've also learned, it's like this movie called The Yin Yang Masters. It's the one with the big hand, not the other one. They're both really good, but it's no longer on Netflix, whatever. But in it, your destiny will hunt you down. So if you don't do what you're here to do, bad stuff will start happening to you. And I've already got life already to kick me up and down the curb. I don't want nothing else from life that's bad if I can control it. So and I'll just say really quick, in that movie, it will be a spoiler, but long story short, without spoiling too much, his power that he was running from created an enemy just to get to him. Like this, it created this evil, terrible man just to get to him, because it wanted him that bad. And he was fighting like heck. No, don't do it. People made fun of me because of this. People told me I talk too much. People say that you're too this, you play too much. I heard that my whole life. Well, now I get paid for playing. Now I get paid to talk. So, but, I was running from it. I was trying not to shine too bright my whole life, trying not to talk too much, trying to be more serious. But that's not what life wanted for me. And your destiny, whatever you're here to do, it will hunt you down. It will make enemies for you until you acknowledge it. But once he in that movie, that struck me like a chord. Once he said, okay, fine. You literally ruined my whole life. Let's do this. But you're going to bow to me. I'm not going to bow to you. Then he came back and delivered that evil man the thing of that you never would have, the beating of a lifetime. It was crazy when he came back. So all that to say, you got to everybody has to find their real purpose, because once you find that, everything will just become more clear, and life's not going to be easy, but you'll suddenly have a reason beyond the whatever it is that's opposing you. You have a more important reason. So it gets to the point, like, I don't really care about what you're saying. I don't really care about this or that, because you are nothing compared to what I'm here to do with my children. I don't care about anything else about what a hater got to say. Oh, well, you did this. Who cares? Because look at what I'm doing now. Look at all these kids that I have to on my shoulders. I got time for you. So it just puts things more into perspective. So all that to say, my day-to-day changes, but the bare meat and potatoes is I have to do whatever I feel called to do because I don't want whatever's calling me to get me if I don't do it. And then also, I believe there's a war on childhood innocence, and I'm on the front lines helping to protect these kids. So that's, yeah.
No, that's incredible. That is incredible because there is so much that is happening. Like you said, pour into children, and if you don't, something will. And also, like that's, I think when you said like that self voice, that's like, the education, the work, the time, but you may sabotage yourself inadvertently without even someone else being in the picture. So I guess my next question sort of be, I know like we've been going for a minute, so I don't want to hold you too much longer, but how do you then decompress? How do you relax and say, okay, this is when I'm working, this is when I'm networking, and this is how I need to just take a step back for me?
Yeah, so that was a challenge earlier on. I'll be real candid. That was a challenge earlier on. But now I know that if I don't relax, I cannot show up fully. And so again, it goes back to the children. Because before I was working with the children and I actually had like a real purpose, I was working myself to the bone. Even when earlier on when I started working with them, I had bags under my eyes because I was so tired because I had like a full stressful work day, and then I gotta show up as like for them. And so now though, I want to be able to pour a full cup into them. And they say like when your cup runneth over, that is when you help, not when you are halfway full, because a 20% Coach Yana is no good to anyone. A 50% Coach Yana is okay, but 120%, fine, I can pour into you. And so, and I also discovered that when I was stressed, clubs weren't as fun because even though they were fun and the kids were having a good time, I was like, oh, that wasn't as cool as it could have been. And so the only reason, truthfully, why I prioritize my self-care is because I want to be full for the children. And then the second part of that is because I learn from other people, and all these other people that have made it all say, man, what they mainly regret is not having time with their family, not doing stuff. So the other day when I went to this conference, I was so tired afterwards. I didn't even talk to nobody when I came back. My mom was like, are you okay? I'm like, yes, but please just give me like a few hours. I don't want to talk to nobody. And so my cousin had a barbecue because I have a bunch of different religions in my family. So it was Eid. So everybody went to my uncle's house for Eid. And I was like, oh man, I just was at this thing for 8 hours. I ain't trying to be with y'all for another 7. But my cousin was there, my ace boom coon cousin was there. And I was like, fine. And then I was thinking, like, I don't want to be like 10, 30 years from now, like sitting in this big old fish tank by myself. That's not the goal. I'd rather be in a medium fish tank full of school of fish that I love and that I enjoy being around. So even though I was tired, I still went. And I had a great time. So again, for me, it goes back to the mission of, it doesn't really matter about what I want to do. It doesn't matter if I want to keep working. I can't, because I got to show up for these kids. So put the freaking laptop down or go to the thing with your family or do this, do that. And also I'm kind of lazy, so I don't mind relaxing now. And this is the last thing too, because I've been saying, and I'm like, I'm really a coach, and one more time. And then I'm like, and I'm done. And I got another thing to say. But I got around some older folks who really got money, like real money, and they chill all the time. Okay. Granted, I don't know if they chilled their whole life, but they chill. Like I went to like this like little social gathering, whatever, with this lady. She said, oh, we can work together. So I brought my laptop to work. She's like, oh, you're not gonna come out on the course with us? I was like, no, you said we working. Like, what do you mean come out on the course? She's like, oh, well, we'll see you then. And so here I am in this beautiful palatial place with my laptop working, and they're off on the golf course working, doing, I don't know what the heck they're doing, but they were not, it wasn't what I thought working was. I thought when she said work, we were going to be sitting down in a corner, glued. And so I realized again, and then I took the Rabbi Daniel Lampin's class, and I realized that, money is spiritual too. And so if we're always in hustle culture, go, 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 it's because we don't have it. Now, it doesn't mean we will have it. We will not doing stuff, But there's a difference between being productive and being busy. So it's like, what is the productive thing to do here? How can I get the furthest farther faster? And then when I saw these people with this real money chilling, I was like, okay, I got to figure something out. So I'm not chilling like them, but seeing how they work shifted my perspective. And then taking that class, it shifted it to where, okay, I can still work, go to the conferences. I can still do my curriculum. I can still, if I got to pull a part-time to do this or whatever, I'm still fine to do that. Like, I ain't got no problem with it. However, now it's from a different space because I see like there's a difference between hard work and getting stuff done. And the hardest working people are typically on the lowest level of the platform. Like the janitors and stuff, they work very hard and I respect them. They work hard. The managers, they manage, they oversee. They're not really working. They're in meetings, but that's not the same thing. They're not on the ground floor working. The CEOs, yeah, they're working, but they're at events. Their version of working is, oh, I'm at this event meeting this person. So in your business, you have to decide what role you're going to be. And if you're going to be the CEO, even if you can only go to one event every quarter, so what? You got to do what the CEO does to live the life that the CEO lives. So again, all that to say, once I got around people with that money, I saw how they operated. And I was like, oh, I'm doing something wrong. So then I started to see stuff to start flowing easier. So change who you're around and it'll change how you view things. And then the spiritual aspect of money, when you're calm, it'll just kind of start to flow to you rather than running to try to get it. Doesn't mean I don't work hard, but seeing how they relax, I'm like, okay, you got to do what you got to do like them to become who they are type thing.
Mm, mm. There's a lot of good gems here, Coach. I gotta say.
Thanks.
Well, before we let you go, I guess one of the things that really strike me is that so much of what your work is about being authentic and being true and networking and community. But if you're someone who's like, okay, I have all these ideas, but I don't know where to start, how would you suggest they start? Like, what's starting looking like? One, and I guess two, how do you know that you're on the right path once you've started?
So that's a great question because I definitely been there, done that, and still experiencing it too. I say the first thing is you got to try stuff because, again, I didn't just come out the womb like, oh, I want to do this. However, I did start the Laptop Life Coach brand earlier, but I thought I wanted to work with adults. But then they had too much sad stuff, and I'm very sensitive. So, like, oh, step back. I got my first client. I was like, never mind. I don't want to teach adults. This is too much for me. And so then it was years later where the Laptop Life Coach came back into working with children. So you just got to try stuff. And the way that I now know that I'm on the right path is if things just work seamlessly. It doesn't mean that it's always going to be perfect, but it's more seamless now versus when I was like trying and I was kind of like forcing stuff to work out. And every time that I forced it, it ended up being the wrong thing, whether it was relationships, whether it was business, like just anything that I had to force, it was because it wasn't supposed to be. Rejection is protection. So if things just line up to where like the box, for example, at first I wanted to make a movie. One of my students was like, no, make a course. I mean, make a series or whatever. I'm like, okay, let's do it. But then I was looking like, okay, well, how am I going to do this? And if you look at it from a place of, well, how am I going to do this? Rather than, oh, now I got to figure this out. It's different. So then that's when the box, and I'm looking at it, that's why I'm like looking this way. The box suddenly, this huge box that we were going to throw away was like, wait a minute, that's the perfect size for a background. And my sister can paint. Okay, can you do this? Okay, cool. I tell her what I want. Boom, it's done. So if you look at things from an inquisitive perspective, then you'll know. And then the last thing I would say is it just feels like home. Just like they say, like my mom says, when you know you're with the right person, you don't, her version of when you know you're with the right person is you're not going to feel the butterflies. He might not be like as fine as your exes were or whatever, but looks fade, looks change, but you're going to just feel like you're at home. You're going to feel like, okay, especially as a woman, where you can just like you don't have to say what you want to watch. He just puts it on. He already knows. You don't have to say you want water. You might have to say like, where's the water at? And he goes and gets it. Like there's just things that you don't have to do. It's true It's true. So, it's like that. When you just feel like, okay, I'm here, I'm home in your business, then to me, that's what your calling is. And then things will just line up for you. Now, I will be real frank. The first 2 years, though, it was me like throwing stuff at the wall. Like, okay, this is gonna work. Is Zumba what I want to do? No. But I knew I wanted to work with children. And then another thing you can do is, what did you like doing when you were young? Because when I was younger, I always was the teacher. I always was the one that's like, okay, I'm going to teach you guys something today. I have the whiteboard. Even if my mom had to take me to work with her at some point, because I didn't grow up with like money and stuff. I'm making this out the mud. Like I'm building the palace out the dirt. And so, you know what I'm saying? But like, I would be like, okay, everyone, here's the classroom. And I always liked being a teacher. I always liked being in that space. I always liked being a big sister. Even when I was younger, before I had siblings, I was the only child, and I was always looking for other kids to take care of, even though I didn't have that responsibility growing up. And so they will always say, you're so good with children. As I'm a child, I'm like 10. They're like, you're so good with kids. I'm like, oh, thanks. Mind you, I'm still a kid. So that was because, like, I believe that you already know what you're here to do as a child, but the world can kind of like take you off your path. So go back and play, have some fun, bring that child back in you. And then that child version of you who has better discernment. If a baby cries around you, I automatically think you're a bad person. So bring that baby, that child into you and nurture that. And then that will guide you into, remember you used to like doing this when you were a kid? Remember you used to like to play the flute? Maybe you can teach flute classes, or maybe you can join a band, or I don't know, make an album. But so all I'd say, the three things is use what you have now and do the most with that. Think about what you like to do when you were a child, because likely there's something that you might have gave up on as a child or whatever. People always give up on stuff, but it's never dead. You can always bring it back. And then once you find it, if it's a big enough reason why, and it's bigger than you, and it can help you overcome the voice. If you can say, oh, wait a minute, I know you're a hater, but I got kids who need me. I don't really care. Then they're like, okay, wait a minute. Because there are going to be things that try to stop you. It's a part of this world. The universe isn't just going to hand you the keys to the city like it looks in the movies. It's going to beat you up and say, are you really who you think you are? Because the life that you have to lead to, the person you have to become to be who you want to be, is going to take some hurdles. So if you can find whatever it is that is worth beating those hurdles over, and I say it makes your heart sing, because for me, physically, it's like I guess, like, I don't know, they call it the chakras. I don't really know what anybody wants to call it, but it's like straight up and down. I just feel like a river, like water's flowing through me. And afterwards, if you feel enriched after, then that's a good sign too, because there are things that you're excited to do, and then once you do it, you feel deflated. That's not for you. If you might not be excited to do it, because we don't know what stuff is in the mind. Sometimes people, good things they're afraid to do because of, disappointment, whatever else happened in life. But if you feel good after the experience and you're like, okay, and then it makes you feel a little bit more courageous and things like that, that's a good sign. So yeah, that's what I would say.
Powerful stuff, very, very much so. And so I know I said that we had to go, but like you said something before
Okay.
that really stuck with me. Is like, if you want to be the CEO, you have to do the things that CEOs do, like you said, the networking part. How do you then work that into your day? Because I know you had the stuff with your family, you said to work with the children. How do you then say, this is the CEO part that I'm going to take leadership on?
You just try a bunch of things, and you got to find out what gets results. So there are a lot of things like prioritizing. There's a lot of things that got to get done. Like, I got to write this course that's coming up. And like most people would say, like, the way that I do things, people are like, you are insane. Like, I put out a 6-week course just to see what would happen. And I didn't start the lessons until somebody signed up. And I literally, week one, I did week one lesson. The second week came, I did the second week lesson. Third week, third week. Like I didn't have a full completed thing. I never do. And because if no one's interested, why the heck am I going to make a course? Because I don't know what people want. I don't know what their kids would. I know what I want, but I don't know if that's what everybody wants. But the CEO task, that's also why you have to get in front of CEOs. And so you not only like the meetup and stuff, you got to get into conferences, because in the conferences, that is when you learn what those CEOs are doing. And if you can't go to conferences, go on YouTube. There's so many people, but that's another thing you gotta be careful of. You don't want to just go to someone who created a brand teaching people how to be a something, because you can fake anything on the internet. You got to find people who actually have businesses outside of teaching people how to have a business, because there's so many people out here who's like, oh, I'm going to teach you how to make money, but they never had a business. Their whole business is, I'm just going to teach you how to make money. Of course that's going to work because people want to make money, but that doesn't mean you actually know how to make money outside of gypping people and saying, I'm going to teach you how to make money. So if you can find some businesses that are successful, research what those CEOs did and then learn from them. Like I said, like John D. Rockefeller, he has a thing where he wrote his son, like, I think it was him, one of those older dudes, but he wrote his son like 40 letters. It was in a book. Read that. There's a few books I really like also called The Millionaire Next Door and then The Millionaire Woman Next Door. Read those things, learn what they do, and don't like look up the day in life of a CEO, because that might pop up some YouTube CEO. And I'm not trying to shade, because YouTube is challenging, because I have a YouTube channel too, and that goes up and down. However, that's not the same thing as running a business. Showing up and making a video and people liking your personality is part of it, but running a business, that's about like day-to-day tasks. And you got to get in front of people who are further than you so they can tell you the truth. Like, you're going to be the bookkeeper, you're going to be the this, you're going to be the that. But I always like to say, if you don't have any money, doesn't matter what your business is, because you don't have any money, like flat out. So you prioritize the money-making tasks first, and you can backtrack later. Like it might be the same day and I don't have the course finished, but I'll get it done before time. And that's what matters. The child doesn't know that it was an hour. Granted, I'd never been this bad, but the child doesn't know it was an hour before class started and I didn't have a class because I was out and about doing other things. So the most important thing is to get money coming in, and then you can figure out what you're going to do later. You can figure out how all the other stuff, but a lot of people get stuck in the planning and the well, what happens when it comes? I don't know, but I'll figure it out, but you have to have enough faith in yourself that you'll figure it out. And then, like I said, those CEO tasks is really just about getting in front of CEOs, like going to these conferences and learning, okay, this is what this person did. And then the more people you can study, the more people you can learn from, like Henry Ford as well. And like he failed so many times trying to make those cars. People thought he was crazy and like, you need to get a job. Like, what are you doing? And so, but it worked out. Thomas Edison failed thousands and thousands and thousands of times. People thought he was a lunatic. But now without him, we wouldn't, electricity would have been crazy. You know what I'm saying? We might even have electricity. So it's just about, listening to yourself, believing in yourself. Walt Disney, if someone would have said that they were going to have an amusement park, or that Ripley's, believe it or not, if someone said, I'm going to make a museum full of odd things, people would be like, something's wrong with you. Nobody's going to do that. Somebody would have told David Blaine, he's going to say, I'm going to be a magician. Okay. We're going to be funding his GoFundMe soon. That's what people will tell you. But if you get around the right folks, you'll learn. It's not really about what you're doing. It's about who you are. And then the last thing I'll say is like Jim Rohn, he's since passed. A lot of these people I name have passed, because if they passed a while ago, their information on them is free. So you can start there instead of trying to, if you don't have money, you don't have to go to these conferences yet. You don't have to do all that stuff yet. You can start out with the people that are gone, because all their stuff is in public domain anyway. And most of their stuff is free, but they still had the right mindset. But Jim Rohn says that success is attracted to you by the person you become, and the person you become attracts success. So having discipline, learning and boosting your skills up, success will be attracted to you. It doesn't mean though that tomorrow is going to be a miracle. And like Rabbi Daniel Lampin says that you have to put in so much work that your miracle just seems like the natural next step. It doesn't mean that it wasn't still a miracle, but it just seems like it's the natural progression. So everybody's business is different. But if you are doing the CEO task, like if you know that you see the CEOs at events, you got to figure out how to get to that event. Even if you can only go to one event a year. And if you go to that event, you don't sit in the back, try to be a watcher. You go and you participate. If you can only get to 2 events a year, who has a question? I do. Who has a thought? I do. I'm taking pictures of everybody because especially if you are building, you don't have time to be an observer. You got to be a participant in everything. So when you do get there, you make your presence known. You be the person. I'm in the pictures. Even if it's in the background, you see the camera coming, just slightly move a little bit, make sure you're smiling or you're talking like, oh yeah, I thought the same thing, but you just got to be there because you're only as big as you are, And so now social media, those things help, but for real, and then the last thing, get on LinkedIn. After you do those things, show every win on LinkedIn. So you were here, you were there, you met this person, you met that person, put it on LinkedIn. Because one thing that I discovered from the Millionaire Women Next Door is that a lot of these women, once they move on and transition out of life, they found people, they might have never even worked with them, but they'll give them a vast fortune just because they saw them and they knew what they were doing. So if you always think like, just put in so much effort so that the miracle seems like the logical next step, but with that in mind, doing the things CEOs do. And you have to think like a CEO. If you don't have $1 million, so what? Nobody does when they come out the womb, whatever. But you have a box. That box can be a background. You have a mind, you have Canva, you can figure it out. You might not have this grandiose situation, but you got Zoom, you got LinkedIn, you got this. So if you use the tools that you have, like a CEO would use them, you'll find ways that you can really make a lot of productivity. And then once you get the clients, then you can figure out, okay, what do we do now? Now we got somebody, what do we do? But I'm not saying, of course, not to have anything in place, but the whole point is if you focus on getting yourself out there, people will help you because they also know it's kind of like a fake it till you make it situation. They know what it is. Most successful businesses, they put stuff out. They didn't know what was going to happen, but they reached out to people, they networked, and some way they were able to put it together. So all that to say, use what you have. And then if you don't have much yet, learn about who already passed because all their work is going to be in public domain. So it's going to be free, but really make sure that you're learning from people who have businesses, not people who are teaching you how to make money when they've never had any other business outside of teaching you how to make money because they might be a grifter.
Phenomenal and also helpful because you can use that knowledge as a filter to see things on social media, different places to find out what works for you and also who might be an ally and also who you can be an ally and serve to as well.
Right.
This has been incredible, Coach. I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much for sharing your blueprint with us. And we are so excited to see how we can support you moving forward. So what social medias, how can we keep up with your works moving forward?
Yeah, so I'm on LinkedIn, like I said, but that's everything that I do. You can find me at thelaptoplifecoach.com. That is thelaptoplifecoach.com. I'm the Laptop Life Coach on most social media platforms. I'm on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and LinkedIn on there. And yeah, if you have any questions, just send an email, comment, or anything like that. I'm pretty accessible and, just here to help. And if you have a child between 7 and 11 and they need a safe place to land, hit me up. And, I also have books and courses, self-paced things. So if your schedule doesn't accommodate the live classes and things, there's still something because like Kanye said, who the kids going to listen to? I guess me if it isn't you. So I'm everywhere that the kids are and everywhere that the schedule needs to be to help them become their best selves.
Thank you so much, Coach. We really appreciate your time and thank you for sharing your blueprint.
Thank you. Awesome.
It is awesome. Hold 1 second.